Hello, everyone. Welcome to Baby Talk Tuesday. Today's a little bit later than it normally is, so thank you if uh, you know, came back from the original time. It's a couple hours ago. I had some other things that I was doing today, so welcome to Baby Talk. And last week I had popped on and I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to talk about. Nothing was really like popping in my world to talk about something specific. And so I had asked for people to PM me or, if they had any questions. And interestingly enough, I got a lot of people actually asking about conception. um, getting pregnant when you want to get pregnant, not getting pregnant when you don't want to get pregnant. What happens if you have a baby in your world who you're pretty sure wants to be your child, but you're not really wanting that? And so I think what I'm going to do, and not think, but I am going to basically devote all of June's Baby Talk Tuesdays will be about all things conception. Um, how to, how not to, like what questions can you ask, what can you be aware of, a different perspective on all things conception. So, if you're someone who is looking for that information or you know someone who is, just know June is going to be chock full of it. Um, as always, you can invite people to check out my group, Baby Talk with Cara Wright. All of my Baby Talk Tuesdays are in there. And so if this topic or genre or whatever you want to call it is something that either interests you, if it would interest someone that or if it would contribute to anyone please feel free to share and invite them to my group, Baby Talk with Cartwright. So today, May has been a really funny month. I keep trying to come up with topics before the day, like last week. And all the other months in the past few months, like basically I knew what I was talking about all month long in the beginning of the month. This May is a mystery. I think that baby talk is messing with me a little bit, which is actually a good topic to also have as a baby talk. Like, can your babies mess with you? Yes, they can. Um, they can mess with you even before you conceive them, which we'll go into in June. And, pretty much all your creations can mess with you. I think the universe has a sense of humor and timing that we have completely disregarded and actually like lost the willingness to have it be like that, which is kind of leads me into what popped to talk about today, which literally I didn't know what I was talking about till about, I don't know, a couple hours ago. So the thing that showed up that wanted to have a voice today on Baby Talk is the idea of this whole normalcy thing. Like, pregnancy and birth is one of those areas where the thing that women strive for and are told to strive for is normalcy. Like, you want to have a normal pregnancy, you want to have a bit normal baby, you want to have a normal birth. There's just a few, you know, kind of problems with that. Although it's very common, if you really, really look at it, like what's the common thing a lot of women are striving for, and a lot of the things that we ask women to do to show up for during pregnancy and during birth is what's going on for you, your body, and your baby tracking with what's normal for people. It's this whole idea that there's some sort of standard, that there's some sort of normalcy that you need to adhere to. And if you or your baby or your body are not doing so, there's something wrong. And that's the thing that causes this particular perspective, point of view, uh, very, very prevalent is the word I'm looking for. Very prevalent point of view. Like, women feel like they're succeeding if they're having a normal pregnancy, or they feel like they've succeeded if they had what is termed a normal birth, which actually can sometimes contribute to women having post pregnancy and post birth um, depression, uh, you know, judgment, disillusion, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of women will have these down periods. Well, sometimes that's due to the fact that they did everything right and they had this normal pregnancy, but to them, it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, or wasn't what they desired for it to be. And I think a lot of women don't even realize they desire for their pregnancies and birth to be something to them in their world. It's not just about growing a baby, birthing a baby, and becoming a parent. For a lot of women, it's about the process of, um, it's about all of the elements of it. And so there's this really um, bipolar, basically, perspective that women kind of get shoved into. They want to have this experience for themselves and for their baby, and yet they're being told that everything needs to line up and be normal. Like, in order for this to be safe, in order for your baby to be healthy, in order for you to be healthy, you have to like check all these boxes. You have to do these particular things. And I found myself so many times in prenatal yoga classes, especially. Um, I found myself helping women deconstruct this thing that they're supposed to adhere to that isn't actually real, by the way. A lot of the things that are considered normal for pregnancy and birth are not normal for pregnancy and birth. They're not physiologically normal. What they're normal for is that helps the physician attend the birth. It helps the hospital handle however many births they're going to handle in that day. It helps. There's so many things that have been assumed are the way things need to be for the health of the woman and baby, but they're not. They're more just a reaction and a response and a reflection of industrialization of birth. I brought it up a little bit last week about how when we took birth um, kind of out of the home and we put it in an institution, we put it in a hospital setting, and we put it with doctors and obstetrics, people who were outside the realm of it being a normal, natural, physiologic experience. When we did that, we started putting parameters on it and standards on it, and this is how things had to be. And people don't even know this. The standards have changed over time. So what you're trying to adhere to as normal is not what your mom was made to adhere to as normal, which was not what her mom was made to adhere to as normal. So the normal is that it keeps changing too. So if you've ever basically felt cringy in your world and in your body when that comes up, or if you really go into a sense of wrongness and awfulness when you and your baby are not matching up to the normal, um, if you have hesitation and reservations when you are starting to be asked to do things differently during pregnancy and in your birth based on what your body is doing and how it doesn't match what the quote unquote norm is, those are the things you need to listen to. One of the reasons I so loved adding the tools of access consciousness to my work as a doula, my work as a prenatal instructor, birth care provider, a birth preparation care provider, somebody who, taught and tutored women on, really the elegance of birth, and was adding these tools because one of the things that access consciousness, we talk about with the tools of access consciousness, they are there to empower you to know what you know. And so adding that into my toolbox after 13, 15 years of being at births, seeing what I saw, having women have the experiences they had. I had so many moms that had great experiences, and I had so many moms that did not. I had a lot of moms that weren't satisfied with their births or their pregnancies. And to watch those women have the dissatisfaction a lot of times because they tried for them, they tried to be normal. They tried for things to be normal and they didn't succeed. And so the only thing left when that occurs, when you're led to believe that there's only, there's only one way to really do things, and you can have a little bit of a variant one way or the other, but you can't have a large variant. Um, that all that does is leave women like there's only one choice left. You have to look at like what you did wrong, why why you're wrong, why your baby's wrong, while the process was wrong. Like you then have to somehow make sense of it all. And so even the basic tools of access, one of the basics tools, what's true for you makes you feel light, and what's a lie makes you feel heavy. That tool during pregnancy and birth is it is like amazing, because yes, we say to women like, follow your gut, follow your instincts. Except how often have you been actually empowered and encouraged to follow your gut or follow your instincts? As a woman, how often did you say what you knew was true and you were basically told, no, you're wrong. You're not right, it's this. And so what a lot of women who come to the when okay, now I'm having these babies, they've actually effectively turned off of their navigation system because they have been told over and over and over and over again that they don't know what they're talking about. And so to be able to introduce this back to people and to be able to give them these like very simple tools, 98% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are not yours. Excuse me? Like, and yet, how often do you walk into a room and you know what's going on in that room emotionally for people, physically, mentally? Like, you do pick up on people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And when I first heard that, I was like, being in birth space with like it like so much made more sense to me, because there were times where I was at births where the people in the room had a direct effect on the woman and the baby birthing, like a million times over. And I would mitigate that and manage that as best I could, but like actually having this energy of like, wow, 98% of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions don't actually belong to us. It's what we're aware of. And when a woman is pregnant, the space that a woman and her body have to choose to be able to have another whole body and another whole being be included in the growth and development of a baby's body, like you have to be way more even open than you are generally speaking. And so all of these things that I had seen over time that I noticed, I witnessed, that didn't really like they didn't cognitively make sense to me, although I knew that they exist and I did my best to like either avoid them or mitigate them or kind of like drive my client around them, like so I would manage things and as the best I could. But when I first started getting these tools of like, wow, okay, so like like I could actually start to empower the women that was working with to actually look at the energy of something. Does that friggin' apply to you and your baby? Like, what if a lot of the stuff that's commonly done as a normal practice in pregnancy and birth isn't required? A lot of women don't even ask the question, like, is this required? And, there's so much more, even more so now. Like when I was first started attending births, I didn't even know what a doula was. Like I just started having my yoga students ask me to come to their births. And so I kind of was a doula before I knew what a doula was. And then being a doula actually became popular. And so in the time period that I was a doula, like it actually became something that people knew what it was when you said it out loud. It wasn't this weird thing that no one knew, like that it existed, that job title even existed. And then, you started to have more women choosing home births. You started to have women choosing unassisted births. Oh my God. Like the idea that a woman could just not have prenatal care and not have a person there birthing their baby, but they could actually birth their baby themselves. Like absurd. But is it? Now, does that mean that it's for everyone? No, it doesn't. Like this is a whole thing. There is no normal in birth and pregnancy. There's no normal. So everywhere you are trying to match yourself up to some sort of normal, you've decided, even if you're a mom and this is your second baby, if you're trying to match this pregnancy up to the last pregnancy, you're in effect going to create a situation where all you have left to do is judge you and judge this baby and judge this pregnancy if it's not matching up to some ideal. So, one of the other things we do in Access Consciousness that I love is that we have something, we have the Access Bars, which is an amazing body process that you basically have 32 points on the head. You very softly hold the head. It allows you to dissipate and release the thoughts, feelings, and emotions associated with all these different topics. And when you really start to understand that 98% of thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you think are yours aren't yours, wouldn't you want to get rid of those? Get those kind of out of the way so that you actually can start to be aware of like what's actually true for me, what's actually going to work for me and my baby. Is that something that's going to create greater for us, or is something different going to create greater? So that you don't go into the process going, this is what I have to adhere to. It's okay, what would we like to choose? And it is something that you give yourself permission to have every single day. There isn't we've landed on we've landed on a way of a path and we are going to stick to the path. What if you didn't have to stick to the path? And so with Access, there's so many different ways. Bars is one of them. We also have something where we talk about like a clearing statement. And if you aren't familiar with Access or the clearing statement, you can go to www.accessconsciousness.com/the clearing statement. And it gives you a background of the clearing statement. But what the clearing statement does is we ask questions. It brings up the energy of the question. So it's like, if I were to say to you, like, does birthing in a hospital work for you? Like, there was a ton of energy on that. Like, you would think that that's just a normal thing to say, but like, does birthing in a hospital work for you? And you let the energy of what that is without maybe being cognizant of it. And then we basically run a bunch of gobbledygook that takes the energy out of that thing so that whatever that is that came up for you of like, what is it about hospitals that kind of makes you go, or maybe it doesn't do that. Like if it feels light and spacious, does it work for you? Yes, it does. Okay, cool. How does it get better than that? Then you can start with that. And there's a million different things. There's so many different choice points and choice throughs, I will say, when it comes to pregnancy and birth. It's one of the things that you have in effect are planning while having to be the most flexible you've ever been in your entire life. So you're having to live in both worlds all the time. And so when we are able to bring up that information, we're able to bring up those questions, or you've got something going on. Say every time you look at, you're 7 months pregnant, every time you look at like birth happening, you start to freak out a little bit. You're freaking out a little bit. You're trying to not freak out, but you are freaking out because like eventually the baby's coming out, right? So it's like those kinds of things where you're just kind of stuck in an energy. The tools of Access Consciousness are so brilliant to be able to get you to move through, like to be able to bring the energy up by asking a question, have the energy be there, run the clearing statement, so that energy can dissipate out so that you can look and see what's actually really truly there. Because oftentimes we make decisions and choices and judge ourselves in regards to something based on other people's points of view. Doesn't even have anything to do with us. It's just what we're aware of in their worlds. There were so many times when I worked with clients where they truly believed they were afraid. They were afraid. Like, I'm afraid of this. Like, this is like, and what ended up showing up is that it wasn't their fear at all. It was somebody that they knew and cared about's fear. And they were trying to do something with it. and change it. Well, if it's not yours, you actually can't change it. You can be aware of it. You can ask to shift the energy of it. You can choose for you in like without it being being the effect of it. And so this is what, starts to open up for women is that you can actually start to be in choice and be in the flow and be in the um what else is really possible. Like that's one of the basic tools of access consciousness. Whenever you get to a place where either it's a great thing or it's a not so great thing, what else is possible? Asking a question. You might not cognitively get the answer to that, but if you are willing to ask a question, it allows the universe to contribute to a different perspective or a different energy showing up. The other one that's really amazing is how does it get better than this? Again, if something shows up that you're not in love with, or something shows up that you love totally, how does it get better than this? Again, that opens the door to the energy changing and for something different to show up. So, what if it isn't about normal? What if it isn't about adhering to some sort of structure that doesn't work for you? And what if you were able to acknowledge that you know what's going to work for you and not what's not going to work for you. And so here I am, baby talk. It's one of the things that we talk about all the time, like that I talk about with my clients all the time, and that you'll hear me talk a lot in baby talk about, like, what if you actually know what's true for you? What if you know what's going to work for you and for your baby? And the more you're willing to ask those questions, the more you're willing to actually acknowledge your baby is an active participant in the process, that they actually have perspectives, that you can ask them what they know and you can ask them to contribute to something being different. Like you actually have a co-pilot that you get to navigate all of this with. So just a little conversation about what if normal doesn't equal wrong. And many other things. And I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week. If there's something that I've talked on past baby talks about and you want to know more information, please just PM me or pop it in the Baby Talk with Cara Wright group, and I will work it into something in the future. So thank you for joining me, and we will see you next week.